Hi, second grade. We spent a lot of time with our three-digit numbers last week, and this week we started our week diving into comparing numbers. Now, yesterday we only compared our two-digit numbers, right? So a number like 32 and 45, which one is greater or less than? And we use these symbols right here. We use our greater than, our less than, and our equal to. We know that equal to really well now, don't we? When we start looking at those two-digit numbers, we realized yesterday that we were looking at our tens digit first every single time. So if our tens digit was the bigger one, we knew that that number was the bigger one. But then we ran into problems when the tens digit was the same as the other tens digit, and then we had to look at that ones digit. We're going to be keeping that in mind today as we start diving in to comparing three-digit numbers. Let's get our targets ready, and we're going to take a peek at this first visual before we start really diving in deep. I can compare two three-digit numbers using place value. Remember, we really want to be diving in and thinking, what does this mean? When we compare, we're really asking ourselves, which one's greater, which one's less, or are they the same, right? Are they equal to each other? And we do that by using those symbols. So today, as we dive into working with those three-digit numbers, we are going to be using those symbols in our work. We're also really keeping in mind this place value. Remember, each place that a number has in it has a different value. So when I have my hundreds, it's worth 100. When I have a 10, it is worth 10. And when I have a unit or one, it is worth 1. So if I have a three-digit number and it has a digit here, a digit here, and a digit here, each digit has a different value, or each place has a different value. And we're going to be using that as we do our work today. Let's go ahead and first take a peek at these blue pictures. I want you to look at this as a number and this as a number. What do you notice about these two models? What do you notice about these two models? There's hundreds in this one. How many hundreds are in this? There are 4 hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hundreds in it. Okay, what else do you notice? Okay. There are no hundreds in this one. You're right, there are no hundreds in that model. What else do we notice? 2 tens here. There are 9 tens here. 3 ones. 7 ones. What else do you notice? I'm hearing somebody say, I think that this one is bigger because it has those hundreds. Why do you think it's bigger? Because it has that third digit. It does have hundreds. Hundreds are more than tens, right? There's actually 10 tens put together. So if there's 4 of those, that's a much bigger number, isn't it? So if we were going to put a symbol in the middle here, what would that symbol look like? Show me with your hands what that symbol would look like. Seeing a lot of you do this for me. Yes, this is this bigger number right here. That is the bigger number because why? It has a 3-digit number. This is just a 2-digit number. It has hundreds. This one does not. Fantastic. This is a great warm-up to our work today. Our first launch for us to think about. And I drew a little picture today to go with it. Made me feel all jelly beany when I wrote this. Bart and Diego are guessing the number of jelly beans in a jar. Bart guesses 461 jelly beans, and Diego guesses 372 jelly beans. Who guessed the lesser number? So let me read that to you one more time, and I want you to think about, what am I asking you? Bart and Diego are asking the number, or guessing the number of jelly beans in a jar. Bart guesses 461 jelly beans, and Diego guesses 372 jelly beans. Who guessed the lesser number? What do we know? Yeah, this is our problem, just like what we've been doing. Bart guessed 461. Okay, here's good old Bart's guess. What else do we know? Diego guessed 372. What do we want to know? Yes, which number is the lesser number? Which number has less? Which is the smaller number? We think of less, we think of fewer, we think of smaller. Those three words all mean the same thing. We're looking at the number that is smaller. Which one's it going to be? Remember, you can use your hundreds, tens, and ones blocks. You can draw a model. You might look at the number and look at the place value of each of those numbers. I want you to use what you need to help you figure this out. I want you to take a few moments of private think time, and if you're at home, pause this video if you need to, or if you need some more time to solve this work. Take out those hundreds, tens, and ones out. Look at the number, write it out. Which one is lesser, fewer, smaller? Go ahead and go. I'm going to come around and ask you some questions. Where are your hundreds? How many hundreds are in this number? How many hundreds are in this one? What does that tell you about those two numbers? Which number is bigger? I know the question up here asks which one's smaller, doesn't it? But which one's bigger, do you think? So then which one's going to be smaller? How do you know? Circle the picture, the part of your model that proves how you know it's a smaller number. Which digit is helping you decide the value or how to compare them? Are you looking at the hundreds, the tens, or the ones? And how does that prove to you whether the number's bigger or smaller? Did you use a model, or did you use the value of those places without the model? Great. All right, friends, we're going to be coming together. We've got some really great things being shown. Can I have my friend over here share with us what you did? You used your base 10 blocks. Raise your hand if you use the base 10 blocks. They're really helpful, aren't they? They help us really see and hold these numbers and make sense of them. Okay, so what did you do with your base 10 blocks? You laid out 4 of the hundreds. Okay, then what did you do? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, so 6 ones. Okay, then what? Okay, then what did you do? You put your 300s. Where'd you do your 300s? Oh, underneath of these. Why did you put them underneath? Can I repeat what he just said for those of you who didn't hear? My friend here said, oops, and I drew one too many, didn't I? Got excited. That these problems made him think about when we were comparing numbers earlier this year, And when we were doing that, it was easiest to see which one was bigger by putting one on top and one on the bottom. And the longer one was bigger. Oh, what a great connection to past learning. What else did you do? Okay, 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 70. And then with the ones, 1, 2. Okay, and what did you notice? Which number was bigger? The top one. And why did you say it was bigger? Because it had 400s and this one only had 300s. Oh, I'm seeing some wiggle waggles. If you're thinking that same thing at home, wiggle waggle too. There are 400s here and only 300s here because this one, Miss Baker, silly goose. Okay, there's an extra. And those hundreds, it's important to see those extras. So if we know this one's bigger, what did you write as your symbol? So if the question is, who guessed the lesser number or the smaller number, who did that? Oh, Diego. And how do you know that Diego guessed the smaller number? Because if 461 is the bigger number or it's greater than 372, then the 372 that Diego guessed is smaller or less than 461. So Diego guessed the lesser or smaller number. Okay, but not everybody used those. Some people even drew a picture of it without using the models. But what else did we do to help us? Go ahead and share your thinking. Okay, so you were just looking at the 461 and the 372. And what did you notice about it? That was worth 300. And that was worth 400. And 300 is smaller than 400. Okay. And how did you know how did you know that 300 is smaller than 400? 3 is less than 4. Well, okay. Oh, somebody else I heard somebody piping in saying, well, when I count, I say 300 first. Well, when I say 300 first, I know that it's a smaller number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we know that those numbers that come before are smaller than those numbers that come afterwards. So when I'm counting, I say this number first, and then so that I know that this is the smaller number. We're looking at that place value. But why are we not looking at the tens place? Right. So if this is smaller, we don't have to look past that, do we? No, because we know that 300 is smaller than 400. So the 7 could be even an 8 or a 9, and it would still be less than 400. Absolutely. Let's take a peek at our other problems, and we're gonna kind of do some a little bit quicker and just to give us a little more practice. But we are going to be sharing our work for most of them. Now, I might have you do a couple of these as an exit ticket at the end. Let's see how these two go first, and then we'll keep trucking and see how much time we have left. Our next one that I want you to think about says we have our space for our symbol in the middle. Remember, we're going back. Are we going to do greater than, less than, or equal to? We're using that place value. 264. 462. Take a moment at your seats or at home and see which one is, how would you compare those two? Not even which one's bigger or smaller. What symbol would you put in the middle, and how would you read that? Go ahead and get started. What did you notice about those two numbers? They all are the same numbers, aren't they? Are they in the same order? No, they're not. What place are you going to look at to help you figure out if it's bigger, which one's bigger, or which one's smaller? Why the hundreds? Because they're different, okay? All right, so then how would you compare them and what would you do to do that? What do you have in your model that's helping you figure that out? Your 200s that are stacked up is smaller than your 400s that you stacked up. So then which number is bigger? Which one's smaller? So what symbol would you put in the middle of those? Keep going. Wrapping up in 5, 4. Pencils are going to be down in 3, 2, 1, and done. I had a friend right over here that said something really interesting. They said when I drew or when I stacked up, they actually had their hundreds, tens, and ones with them, and they stacked them up, kind of like how this friend lined them up on top and on bottom. This one had done their 200s and their 6 10s and their 4 1s, and then they did their 400s and then their 6 10s and their 2 1s. And they said, well, I know that my 400s is longer or taller than the others, so I know that 462 is the bigger number. So which way does our symbol going to go? Absolutely. So then how would we read this? If we were going to read this number sentence out loud, what would that sound like? 264 is less than 462. How would we have read this one? 461 is greater than 372. Okay? Somebody else wrote it a different way. They actually flip-flopped the order and they said 462 and they had 264 on that side. Is that still true? Let's read it and see if it sounds right. 462 is greater than 264. Is that true? It is. You have to flip-flop the order if you're gonna flip-flop which way your symbol goes, right? Absolutely. But we can write them either way. I love hearing you read it out loud using what this symbol means to help you make sense of your number sentence. Remember, a number sentence can be an addition, subtraction with an equal sign, but it can also be a number sentence when we're using a comparison and we're comparing these numbers. Let's take a peek at this guy over here. 653, 553. Which one's more? Which one's less? Show me how you might solve this. Getting a little bit quicker here. You didn't use a model. What did you do? Would you be willing to share that up here? Yes, how does your model match this picture? And what place are you looking at? So when I have my friend share over here, I want you to be thinking about your model and how it connects to what they're saying. Yes. All right, guys, coming together. 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pencils down, done. Okay, friend, will you share with us what you did? Okay. So you looked at the 6 and the 5. And why did you look at the 6 and the 5? They're in the hundreds place, okay? And what did you notice about those two numbers? You knew that 6 was greater than 5. So 600 is bigger or greater than 500. So 653 is going to be greater than 553. How many of you looked at those hundreds place the first time? Even if you use the model, even if you used your base 10 blocks. I saw every one of you looking first at that hundreds place. Absolutely, because if it's different, you don't have to look any farther. We saw that here, we saw that with this one, we saw that with this one. No matter how big this 500 gets, it can't get up to 600, right? Then it'll be another 100. So when we look at these, we're looking at that hundreds place first. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit. I want you to do these two as an exit ticket. So on your index card, when you go back to your seat, I want you to use a symbol, either greater than, less than, or equal to, and I want you to compare these two sets of numbers. We have 432 and 345, 244 and 244. Take a little bit to do that, and then you can do your independent practice at your seats. Before I send you off, did we do some comparing today? Did we compare two 3-digit numbers? Did we look at that place value? We did. We looked at the value of that hundreds place, didn't we? So smart. And we're using these symbols to do it as we go. Keep working hard, second grade. You all are doing a fantastic job so far. Tomorrow we're going to do a little bit more of this.